Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to learn more about the financial aid process with me today. I understand that the financial aid process can seem overwhelming and confusing at times, but hopefully I can help with some of that today. Whether Carolina is your path or not, I want to help with your understanding of the financial aid process and give you some tips on how you can prepare to budget and use your aid. We will talk about a little of everything along the way, and then at the end I will share with you the contact information so you can reach out with any specific questions you may have. Financial aid offices are here to help with any of the school-specific questions that you have about the process along the way, so don't be afraid to ask. As you are applying to schools you are interested in attending, you also want to be applying for financial aid. There will be one application that is widely used called the FAFSA. The FAFSA is your free application for federal student aid. The key word there being that it is free and you won't be asked to pay. You should be on the federal student aid website, and the sign-in screen should look similar to what you see here. If you are being asked to pay, you are in the wrong place, so be sure to be careful. The FAFSA application will help schools to determine how much federal student aid they may be able to offer you if you are admitted. The FAFSA opens to you in October of your senior year, and we recommend completing it as soon as you have a chance so that it is ready to go. The application will allow you to put school codes for the schools that you're interested in attending so that when they are ready to process your aid after you're admitted, it will be electronically shared with them. We do have a priority application deadline of March 1st for completion of the application, but we always recommend the earlier the better, just so you have it done. A few years ago, the government changed the application process so that you will use tax information from the prior year so that you can get the application done earlier. What this means is, if you are applying or have applied for 2020-2021 to start school in the upcoming fall of 2020, you would use your 2018 tax information to complete the application. This way, you don't have to wait and will have aid information to make decisions about where you want to attend once you are admitted and get aid offers. The FAFSA will need to be completed each year, so mark your calendar for next October 1st to be sure you get it done for the following year. Although a lot of schools may just use the FAFSA application, some schools may ask for an additional aid application called the CSS profile. Carolina is one of those schools. We use the CSS profile to determine your institutional eligibility. So, while the FAFSA tells us what aid we can give you in federal funds, the CSS profile will tell us what we can give you with our own institutional funding. We are fortunate in that at Carolina, we are usually able to meet 100% of demonstrated financial need. We will talk about what financial need is in just a few minutes. The way we do that, though, is through a combination of federal funding and institutional funding, which is why we ask for two applications. The CSS profile is different from the FAFSA in that there is a fee to complete it. There is an initial fee and an additional fee for each school you send the application to. Now, you may qualify for waivers for this fee through the College Board if you have qualified for waivers during SAT testing. We don't want the fee to be a barrier in completing this form. So if you're experiencing a hardship and paying for the fee, please use the contact information at the end of this presentation to reach out and explain your situation so we can assist. This application has deadlines that are the same as the deadlines mentioned for the FAFSA, and it also uses prior tax year information. A lot of the information requested will be similar to that of the FAFSA application. We will just also ask for some additional information as well. One thing to mention is that if you are completing this for other schools, they may ask for non-custodial parent information or non-custodial parent waivers. At Carolina, we do not currently ask for non-custodial parent information or waivers for that information, so you do not need to worry about that piece for us. Another thing to note is that this application will only need to be completed your first year at Carolina, as we will roll the information for the following years in which you attend, as long as you remain enrolled. Okay, so now you have completed these applications, and you have applied to the schools you want to attend, and now you want to start thinking about how to pay once you're admitted. Each school will have what they call a cost of attendance. This is an estimate of what it will cost to attend the school based on averages. The financial aid office also uses this cost of attendance to determine how much financial aid we can offer, which we will talk about on the next slide. The most important thing to think about when you are looking at school's cost of attendance is that this is not the amount that you're going to get a bill for. The cost of attendance serves as a guide to what you may expect to pay, but as you will find, your individual choices will dictate a lot of what you actually pay and spend while you are in school. We like to think about costs in two ways, direct and indirect. What this means is costs you will directly get a bill from the university for, and other costs you may have as a student that you will pay on your own when you have them, not through being billed. Keep in mind, again, that this can be highly individualized and that schools may do things differently, so it's always a good rule of thumb to visit financial aid websites for the schools you're interested in to explore their cost of attendance budgets. This budget is for the entire academic year, which includes fall and spring. When looking at our cost of attendance, direct costs that will appear on your bill from the university will include tuition and fees. The amount listed here is an average. Your actual tuition amount may vary slightly. If you live on campus, housing is directly billed. The amount listed here is for a standard double room for the year. Another item that is directly billed is if you enroll in a meal plan. The amount listed here again is an average, so you can think about these numbers as guides. I encourage you to research and look at housing and meal plan choices that will work for your individual budget. We'll talk a little bit more about budgeting a little later on and some tools that we have that can help you with that. The only other items that may appear on your bill are health insurance and if you bill books through the student stores using financial aid. Health insurance is required, so if you don't have a plan that you are on that you can use to waive out of the student health insurance, you will be billed for it. We do have a process to add that to our budgets though, so if that is your case, you can complete the form on our website for the budget adjustment. But in most cases, the item listed below the direct cost will vary based on individual choices and needs. We have to include the item as students will have additional expenses when attending school, and these averages guide how much total aid a student can get for these anticipated expenses. Again, you're not going to get a bill for the cost of attendance number that is listed on this screen. So, the financial aid puzzle is hopefully becoming a little clearer to you, and hopefully become even more clear as we go on. We take the applications that you completed and the cost of attendance that we just went through to then determine what your financial need is. This is the financial aid equation that all schools will use. The only difference will be how they meet the financial need number from the equation. So we take the cost of attendance and we use the number that FAFSA gave us from your results called the EFC, or Estimated Family Contribution, and then we are left with your financial need. Just like you won't get a bill for the cost of attendance, you will also not get a bill for the EFC. You will only get a bill for the direct costs that we went over. The EFC is just a picture of your family's financial strength and what they think you could reasonably pay out of pocket if you needed to. So now you have all of the pieces of the puzzle that we use to solve the equation to offer you aid. We are going to talk about the ways that you can pay and all of the different types of aid that you may be offered if you have financial need. Every school will be unique in what they offer. As I mentioned before, we are very fortunate in that we can meet demonstrated financial need for most students who have both federal and institutional need. That will not always be the case, so we will dig into that a little bit more when I talk to you about comparing costs at different schools. As I have mentioned a few times now, costs and paying does come down to the individual situation. There are several ways to pay for your college costs, such as need-based aid, which we'll talk about further in just a minute, non-need-based aid, which I will also define further, both of which are determined from the equation we just went over that shows us if you have financial need. Beyond that, you can use family resources, such as if you have set up a 529 or college savings plan. You can also apply for outside scholarships from local businesses, or some families may choose to set up a payment plan with the university that can help you to make the billed payments in installments throughout the semester. Everyone's situation is different, so you have to think about what works best for you and your family and what resources you have available when making your decisions. All right, it's time to dig a little deeper and spend some time talking about what need-based aid is and how we meet your demonstrated financial need. I want to point out that some of the things I mentioned will be specific to Carolina, and other things are federal and will be offered at any school that offers federal financial aid. The first type of need-based aid is grants, which is sometimes called gift aid. It is called that because if you're eligible to receive it, you do not have to pay it back. It is a gift to help you pay for your education expenses that you are qualified to receive through your aid applications. The grant that all schools awarding federal aid will have is called the Federal Pell Grant. The amount you are offered will be based on your EFC from your FAFSA. Here at Carolina, we also have a university grant that helps us to meet demonstrated need through institutional funding. We determine eligibility for that using the CSS profile. Another grant you may be offered at Carolina your first year is for the CCI laptop. Carolina students are required to have a laptop, so we have a grant program for a specific laptop that students can qualify for if they have financial need. After grants, we have work-study programs, the main one being federal work-study. Work-study is the opportunity to get a work-study position as a student that works around your schedule and allows you to earn up to an amount that you are offered. For example, you may be offered $2,700 in work-study funding for the year. You can work during the fall and spring until you've earned the full amount. Work-study is different from other financial aid in that it is not applied directly to your bill. You are instead paid biweekly through direct deposit. At Carolina, we have another work program called Carolina Works that works similarly to federal work-study. To be offered work-study, be sure you check yes that you're interested on your FAFSA application. As a part of need-based aid, there are loans that are offered based on need. These loans are the most ideal type of loan to have in that they do not accrue interest while you are enrolled in school. So, if you need to borrow, this is a great option that you might have. The need-based loan offered through the federal government is called subsidized. It's important to remember that subsidized loans do not accrue interest while you are in school. We'll talk about the loan that will accrue interest when we discuss non-need-based aid options. At Carolina, we also have a UNC loan that is based on need. It's very similar to the federal subsidized loan in that it will not accrue interest while you're enrolled in school. Although outside scholarships are listed here under need-based aid, that does not mean you need to have financial need to get them. I wanted to include them here so that you're aware that outside scholarships are included in your overall need-based award. It is a federal regulation to include this with need-based aid. This is important to note as you usually receive an aid offer before you report outside scholarships. You are required to report outside scholarships, and when you do, we are required to make an adjustment. We adjust in the most favorable way possible, reducing loans first. Last but not least is a program specific to Carolina called the Carolina Covenant. This program is for students with families that have an adjusted gross income at or below 200% of the poverty guidelines. If you qualify for this program, your financial aid offer will not include any loans, not even loans based on need, and the entire aid offer will be made up of just grants and work-study, so you have the opportunity to graduate debt-free without borrowing. You can read more about the guidelines in this program on the Covenant webpage. While we would love to be able to offer everyone the options we just talked about, as a state institution, we operate under federal regulation and we have to use the data we receive from your aid applications when offering financial aid. If your application shows that you do not have demonstrated financial need, we cannot offer need-based financial aid. The following types of aid are non-need-based in nature, meaning you don't have to exhibit financial need to have them. There are loans through the federal government that are offered based on your year in school and not having financial need, called unsubsidized loans. This is different from the loan we just talked about that was subsidized, in that the interest will accrue on this when it is dispersed, which is a word for applied to your bill. This loan will not need to be repaid until 6 months after you graduate, or if you were to leave school or drop below half-time enrollment. Other loans that can help you to pay for your education that are not based on need are loans that your parent can apply to borrow on the federal student aid website called Parent Plus loans. There are also loans through private lenders for education that you can explore. You also will be considered for scholarships that are not based on need when you apply to Carolina. There is no separate application. You just need to apply. You will be reviewed holistically, meaning they won't look at just one thing, but will evaluate all of the great things that you have done. It is important to note that funds are limited for these types of scholarship awards, and they are very highly competitive. Roughly only 7% of our incoming first-year students will be offered a scholarship that is non-need-based. We wish we could offer all of our exceptional students scholarships, but due to limited resources, we are unable to do so. There are also programs such as Excel at Carolina that may offer enrichment opportunities and funding for things like summer study abroad. You can indicate interest in Excel programs when you apply for admission. I have given you all a lot of information to think about so far, so thank you for hanging in there with me. I have just a few more important things to point out that will be important to think about along the way when you are making your decision on where you want to attend. At Carolina, we will not offer financial aid until you have been admitted. What this means is you may have some time before you know what you can expect to receive in aid to compare to other schools that you may want to go to. That is why all schools are required to have what is called the net price calculator. It is a tool where you can put in information that will be used to complete your aid application and get an estimated financial aid package based on that school's packaging policy, which is how they award their aid. I encourage you when you are looking at schools to really think about net costs. What that means is looking at the cost to attend along with any aid offers or scholarships you will receive and looking at the bottom line of what you might have to pay. One school may offer you more money, but the overall cost may be higher. So looking at the difference after applying the money offered is very important. You can use our net price calculator on our website under budgeting resources. I will point out in just a moment about the other budgeting resources that you can use once you've decided to come to Carolina. Again, I know this is a lot of information, and I congratulate you on taking the time to learn it. I just want to quickly go over the process overview to summarize the main points. So as a reminder, complete applications by March 1st at the latest. The earlier the better to have it done. Once you're admitted to Carolina, you will either receive an aid offer or we will ask you for additional items on what we call the to-do list. The reason we may ask you for more is due to a process called verification that is sometimes required. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with your application, just that we're required to collect some additional information to verify the reported information. The earlier you get the information submitted to us, the quicker we can get you an aid offer. After you've gotten aid offers or award letters, you can compare which school will work best for your individual budgeting needs. If you decide to attend Carolina, we have a budgeting calculator on our budgeting resources page where you can estimate your bill by looking at different housing options, meal plans expenses, and other things, and then plug in your aid offer numbers by semester to see if you will have a semester bill owed or a refund. This can also help you determine if you need to borrow any offered loans. If you do decide to borrow, you will have to accept the loans. You can accept less than the full amount if you don't need to borrow the full amount offered. From there, if you're a first-time borrower, make sure you complete loan requirements on the Federal Student Aid website. we will put links on your to-do list in Connect Carolina once you accept your loans. That is how you will receive the aid. Offered aid will be applied to your bill 7 to 10 days before you start classes, which is a process we call disbursement. If you did not complete both of your aid applications by March 1st, don't panic. We can still assist you at this time. As you are using tools like our budgeting calculator on our budgeting resource page, I want you to think carefully about your individual expenses. There are different housing options and meal plan options that can help you to lower your billed costs. For example, try starting with a lower meal plan, as you will find it may meet your needs. When you're planning for non-billed expenses, such as books, get creative. Our students find ways to keep these costs down through various ways, such as renting or seeing if someone in the class a year ahead of them have a copy they can purchase for less. Think outside of the box so you can answer the question, do I need to borrow? Although you may find you do need to borrow for your billed expenses, remember that what you borrow will need to be repaid after you graduate, so we ask that you consider and borrow only what you will need. One last thing I want to point out is that we are aware that your circumstances can change from the time you apply for aid until the present moment. Because we have to use prior year information to make an aid offer, it may not be reflective of your current financial situation. That is okay, because we have a process for that, as other schools should too. If you find that one of your special circumstances listed has occurred since you have applied, we can do a reconsideration of your aid through what we call a needs analysis review. We have a form on our website that outlines the situations that we can consider and what additional supporting documents you might need to provide. Please keep in mind, we cannot reconsider aid until you have your initial aid offer, and the process can take 2 to 3 weeks during peak time. We also cannot start a reconsideration due to job loss until 10 weeks after job loss. Also, please know that if any of these things happen while you are in school, we are here to help, and you can initiate this process at any time if something occurs. We want your aid to best match your current financial situation. Thank you all again for taking the time to listen to me and to learn more today. As I mentioned in the beginning, we're here to help you to understand and navigate the financial aid process, whether Carolina is your path or not. Please feel free to reach out to us using any of the methods listed. We have a chatbot that is available 24/7 that can not only answer Carolina-specific questions, but also can answer federal aid questions. I hope you all have enjoyed learning more, and I wish you luck as you embark on your journey to college.